Hey, you! I'm your nutrition coach. My name is Jackie Poole. Welcome to Happiness is a Healthier Habit. Let's get today's episode started. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Like always, I am glad that you are here today, my friend. We are going to be talking about GLP-1s, and honestly, I've heard stories and things, and actually been talking to people lately, and it's really quite scary to hear what people are doing. And I'm not one to say it's good for you, it's bad for you. Do what you want for, your lifestyle at the moment. But, many people today are turning to GLP-1 for like quick weight loss results. But is the approach sustainable? Is it long term? And for me, that is the number one thing. Like, you should be able to do this forever, right? And honestly, like if the world were to go apocalyptic and we don't have access to those things, like we wouldn't need them. Like it's just not something that I would recommend. Now, I'm all about like magnesium, vitamin D, like all of those things that support our natural body processes, right? But when we're adding this and some of the symptoms are, for example, we're thinking that it's going to help us, but we're feeling miserable on it. We are crushing our appetite on it, like which we're going to be talking and discussing about today. Like it is making us feel like we can't keep up with our kids. It is making us feel tired. It is not making us eat. Like, if you're eating 500 calories a day and you're on this thing, then either they're giving you way too much or it is just not feasible to live off 500 calories. Like, I'm sorry. And if you are losing weight, you're probably losing muscle because it takes a lot for your body to maintain that. And so, those 500 calories, if you're not eating protein, it is not going to be sustainable. And eventually, your body will get used to those 500 calories. And where are you going to go from there, right? So, like, I'm really heated up about this today because it's mind blowing to me. So, I did a quick Q&A, kind of like Q&A questions, and just had people send me some of the things that they're wanting to discuss about, this medication, what is it for, and just especially for weight loss, right? Because it's been used for other things now, not just diabetes. So we're going to be talking about, how it works, the effectiveness of it, and all of those things. But first of all, let's just dive in exactly like how and what it is, how does it work, and all of those things. So kind of like the overview of this is GLP-1 is a hormone that regulates our appetite and blood sugar. And so the way it does this specific medication like mimics the hormone in our digestive tract that not only really slows down our digestive process, but when it's slowed down, it actually reduces our hunger because it slows the way the body is or the food is moving the food that we're intaking. And so that's one way to that it stabilizes blood sugar. And so we briefly touched about, some of the names like, some brand names like Ozempic and Wegovy and how they're used in different contexts these days, not just for diabetes. Like they are a major off-label thing for weight management, and studies show that there's so many other things that actually they are good for as well, like lowering inflammation and all of those things. But today specifically we're going to be talking about GLP-1s for weight loss, and why is it that they're so effective? Okay, the reason that these medications have been becoming so effective and play a huge role in, controlling our hunger, enhancing our feelings of fullness, managing our blood sugar levels after meals, like there's so many benefits that these medications have brought to those who struggle with, weight loss, or, for years. This could be something that's life-saving for sure. But, some of the things that it really does when we're on it is it suppresses our appetite and really fuels our satiety. So when we're on these medications, again, it slows down our gastric emptying, which prolongs that feeling of fullness, which is something that also fiber does as well. And fiber, when we eat it in whole natural foods, that actually happens in our body as well. Our natural hormone, our body produces naturally GLP-1s when we're intaking more fiber, and it slows down our digestion. It promotes a feeling of fullness, so, even when we're eating fiber and talking about GLP-1s, like fiber does the exact same thing as GLP-1s, but this takes it into a magnitude where we're not even providing what our body needs, and it's like automatically doing it for you. And so this medication interacts with our appetite controls, it reduces our hunger. So when it reduces our hunger and we are giving a medication that, it's normal or quote unquote healthy dose, like many people on this feel fuller sooner, aren't really hungry, they're not really snacking as much, they're not thinking about food, and so it reduces that in a sense. So when you start doing all those things, like obviously you're reducing the food intake that you're doing before, and so your caloric intake will decrease. And so on another thing that it helps with is regulating sugar levels. Originally, this medication was for type 2 diabetes, and so the medications were supposed to improve insulin sensitivity, reduce blood sugar levels by enhancing like insulin release and suppressing the glucagon, which is the hormone that raises blood sugar, which is when you eat, carbohydrates. Like it could happen with bananas, it could happen with cereal, it could happen with oats, it could, happen with a donut. Like it would regulate that spike that you get when, especially for diabetic people, right? So this not only aids in diabetes management, but also stabilizes blood sugar fluctuations, which can reduce, again, cravings for high caloric foods. Because when let's say you're starting the day with a frappuccino from Starbucks and it has like 40 grams of sugar, and you're having like 2 egg bites, right? Like the eggs that come with it. And so that is gonna spike your sugar so high, which eventually you will crash. And when you crash, you're going to feel sluggish, you're going to feel tired, you're going to be like, oh my God, I need something to get my energy up again. So your body's going to naturally want to reach for, again, those complex carbs, chocolate, cookies, something that's going to give you a quick spike of energy again. And so you're throughout the day having regulations of spikes because of the foods that you're choosing, because of the way of the spikes that were, up and high, which can be not good for your overall health. And so the medication reduces that as well. And so the fluctuation of these sugar spikes are no longer there, which another thing that helps with this is actually having muscle in your body. So building muscle helps stabilize blood sugar levels, guys. So again, for appetite suppression, you can use high fiber foods. For blood sugar regulation, you can improve that by actually building muscle in your body. No matter how old you are, you're able to do that. And so another way that, this medication is being used again is for weight loss. Clinical studies have shown that GLP-1 medications can result in significant weight loss, particularly again when combined with when you're doing diet and exercise. But many individuals, more than anything, like just want to keep the weight off with these medications. But what I've seen is they're crushing their appetite, they're destroying their metabolism. What I've heard is they don't have energy, they can't really eat as much, and so they're not having these cravings, and so you're not really feeding the body appropriately. You're losing the weight because obviously you're not eating, and if you're not building good sustainable habits to move your body and to all of those things, then yeah, these people are losing weight, but they're losing muscle as well, and that is the scary part. Another thing that's also been, kind of coming up with the benefits of this medication, which I think for those individuals who struggle with, cravings, and that can lead to like mental mental binges, or just are constantly thinking about food, or what am I going to do, or aren't in a right state of mind when they're battling, I guess, that food noise. This helps definitely with their decreasing or dependency of like solely their willpower, right? So like I've noticed that this is something that's brought up to the attention of a lot of people, that it's not just the food that they have more control over, I guess, is also the mental aspect of having more willpower, the ability to say no, and maybe even starting to develop better habits while they're on these medications. So that would be a pro for me, but this would be a time where we start actually implementing better habits for sure. Okay, guys, the release of the biopeptides are actual and they are live here. Now, if you're somebody that has good habits, that is trying to get better results, you need to get a hold of these. Supplements are for supporting what you are already doing. So if you're already having these good habits, if you're eating well, then you need some kind of support to get you to where you want to go. I actually have a discount code for these supplements. They will be able to order them November 5th, and I'm excited to share that with you. I only have a limited ability, so get your hands on this code today by emailing me. Email will be below. Okay, so I actually did a Q&A on my Instagram and got a couple of questions that people were asking about these medications. And so one of the questions were, what were the side effects of these medications? And from what I've listened, research, people have told me they can feel maybe sometimes nausea, a little bit of constipation, diarrhea. It could be mild person to person. I've also heard like some people just their appetite is crushed. They have no energy. They're barely eating like 500 calories a day. And so maybe with those, like we need to take down the dose or lower the dose if we're having like severe symptoms like that, because you should be able to eat more than 500 calories a day, and that is not something that's sustainable. And if you're not eating, like you're not having energy, and it is important that we feed our body with the right nutrients and having the support, right? So like if we're eating that little, like making sure we're getting our protein in, maybe BCAAs, things that will help us not lose muscle and keep our muscle intact during this process. Okay, so quickly, like, do I need to change my diet? And honestly, no. I'm going to tell you what I tell my clients. If you are looking to lose weight, then I would focus on whole foods. That's it, whole foods. But especially with that type of medication, what I've heard, talked to somebody and listened is their appetite is crushed. Like they have a hard time getting food in, right? So I would focus on getting your protein in, to encourage to get your essential amino acids in, to prevent muscle loss, because the food intake can be lowered. So we want to focus on preserving our muscle, because our muscle is going to help us with keeping our metabolism intact and not having a hard time, keeping the weight off once, we decide to be off the medication. So these medications are not addictive, and, in a way they kind of can have like a habit forming in a way, because if we're decreasing the foods that we're reaching for, or those cravings, or that food noise that we once had, then it can definitely help, go about serving you in the habits that you develop. So they don't create this dependency, right? But because they are hormones, like in my opinion and from what I've read, is, your body kind of stops creating those, hormones and pathways, because you are increasing those kind of like hormone in your body. So when you're increasing it, your body's no longer needing to make it on its own, because your body makes that, right? When you feed it the right foods. And so when you're supplementing with something like this, your body is actually going to think, well, I don't need to make it anymore. So it loses how to, make that on its own, or from what I understand it, right? So it does require like ongoing support and, a doctor's touch and explanation of that. But, you don't want to be on this for, long term or lifetime, I think, and it's not going to replace diet and exercise. Like, these medications are not a substitute for healthy eating or, strength training. While they can help with weight loss, they are very effective when they're combined with lifestyle changes. So again, this can be a support initially when you start, but to maintain the weight loss and the results, like, you have to change the way you eat. You have to change your nutrition, your exercise, like all of those behaviors that you once had. You can't just go back to what you were doing once you're done with the medications, because this approach is going to ensure that it's not sustainable if you go back to what you were doing, right? This is supposed to be kind of like a gap between getting you to where you were to where you want to be, right? Because we want this long term, we want this to be sustainable and in the long run, right? So we want to be able to keep the weight off. And so this can be something helpful, but you don't want to be in it, in my opinion, for a lifetime. And some people lose weight more faster than others, and that's even done with or without it. Like, I've had several clients now, some lose more weight in the initial days than another days, and so it just depends, right? Everybody's different, everybody's body responds to it different, everybody does different things while they're on this medication, and so it's just important to focus on your body, how you're feeling, listening to it, and knowing to talk to your body, right? I think I've mentioned this before. Like, you have to communicate with yourself. And if you're not feeling optimally, like, talk to your doctor. See about maybe reducing the dose or increasing it depending on how you feel. Like, make sure that you know that this is just a support for you and it's not a quick fix, because what I've seen is, like, people say they've tried everything, but I can guarantee you that you haven't tried a coach. And I'll tell you this, most people know what to do, is sticking to it and the accountability part. And I feel like the GLP-1s kind of help with that accountability as well. And so it's, everybody is so different and it's such a big thing now. Like, a lot of people that I talk to and listen and hear, like, a lot of people, I know somebody that's on it, and it is here to stay. It is here to make an impact and waves. And so I just want to help people deal with these types of circumstances. So if you choose to use them or not, it's up to you. I'm just here to support you and guide you in feeling better, feeling energized, and having longevity and having the energy, right? And sometimes we are going to have things that work and sometimes things that don't. And so whatever supports you in your goals, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help you out. And so if you need some more guidance on, these types of medications, if you know that somebody that's on it, if you're on it and, want to try coaching, I am here to help. I am here. Ask me anything. And I hope that this was helpful and valuable and you get a lot of things from it. And if you know somebody that's on it, like, send this to them. Maybe they'll learn something new. All I want to do is spread the word. And if you like this episode, please give me a review, send me a message, give me some feedback, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.